Doug looked around and then looked back down, and the dog looked up and still noped. Doug talked to the dog. You have a decision to make. Either you trust me, or this is it. The dog seemed to have some thoughts go through its little puppy brain. Maybe its mom would come back. It didn't want to go too far. It never crossed the river before. The world was a lot bigger than it previously realized. If this guy wants to cross, maybe something else must be over there. Doug was looking at the puppy as the puppy went through its thought process and reached a conclusion. The little doggy tail wagged, and it let out a little but brave "ah-woo!" And then it went to the edge of the dam. Whoa there, Alpha. You didn't get this far to screw up and wash down that thing, did you? The dog, all misplaced confidence and no sense, took a running start at the dam before Doug could stop the action. As Doug was thinking, that isn't what I had in mind, it was too late, and there the puppy went. The puppy got about a third of the way until it realized that the logs were slippery and wet, and its little dog body and little dog legs were too tiny to vault across. Its little uncorded legs started fumbling as it began slipping into the dam. The puppy floundered and flailed and had the most surprised look on its face, slipping on the slick branches and logs. The fear turned to grief as the pup didn't know what to do. Doug, already in motion, was only one step behind. He picked the puppy up by the scruff of its neck as he expertly hopped along the dam before the puppy could slip away forever. Doug had run across the dam in a way to where he was vaulting forward on perpendicular supporting portions. Having spent so much time in the old rock riverbeds and having to get around wet timber, running across the dam with slip-resistant boots he was wearing provided a minor risk at best. When he landed at the other side of the river, Doug held the puppy up to his face, and the dog curled up limp. Are we a team, or what? Doug asked lovingly but firmly. The dog wagged its tail twice reluctantly, as if answering the question with a question. Doug cupped the puppy's bottom with his free hand and pulled the puppy up close with his other, loosening his grip on the scruff of the puppy's neck. Then he started ruffling and massaging the fur on the puppy's head. They shared warmth in the brisk morning and soon found a game trail. Doug needed to check his compass and the map and set the puppy down. The puppy scuttled off, probably because it wanted to download all the new information in the area. Probably also the market's territory, since it had got a bunch of new marking ammo from the stream. Or was it a girl dog? Did girl dogs mark their territory? Doug couldn't remember. Either way, off it went to do whatever dogs do. He checked the map and confirmed with his watch compass application that he was on the right track. Only a few miles to go, and the game trail looked like it would take him right up the main drag. He put the map away, and the glow of his watch shut off. It was still very dark, but he'd been able to see the outlines of everything forever since the beaver dam situation. This meant to him that the sun was starting to creep up. Doug finally had enough water to where he needed to mark some territory also, so he did that and finished, and he was ready to go about the same way as the new puppy. About the same time as the new puppy. He didn't hear the puppy for a second, and then it charged right up to where Doug was. That's it, Doug said to the puppy, not sharply, but with finality. The puppy stopped and looked at Doug, concerned that it had screwed up again, but didn't know what it had done wrong. Your name is going to be Charger. The dog pondered internally for a second and seemed to come to a decision and wagged its tail moderately. Charger? Doug tried to see again if the name was going to work. The dog bolted off into the woods in the wrong direction. Okay, Doug said, realizing the name probably wasn't going to stick, then started walking in the correct direction. Doug got about 20 yards down the path before hearing the puppy version of charging. The commotion was more like a thrash and a scamper combined. Came back to where Doug was walking. Doug looked down and Charger had a bone. Ah, crap, Doug said out loud without realizing it. That looks like a human bone there, buddy. Charger wagged its tail. Set that down. We'll find you something else. How about that? Doug looked down at it, and from what he could tell from his experience and from entry-level bone analysis, it didn't appear to be human at least, but it could have been. Charger gave a quite adamant response of nope by shaking its head from side to side, and that was that for the next mile or so. Thankfully, the bone got to be too much for Charger, and it found something lighter to carry. After a while, Doug stopped for a second and looked down at Charger, and Charger stopped and looked up at Doug. Doug said, "Which are you more of, a Charger or a Challenger?" Oh boy, that got the dog pumped. "Challenger?" Doug asked again to check and see. Oh yeah, the dog was going wild. "There we go then," Doug affirmed. With that, the duo made the last mile or so and hit the main stretch of the road by daybreak. It was deja vu. This was the same stupid towns those idiots were from. Chapter 13, Doug, the Diner, Revisited, Morning, Day 3. Doug and Challenger went down to the street to the town to get to the diner. No sense in not getting a real breakfast since it was available. In not getting a real breakfast. Doug's phone vibrated and realized the local cell tower must have power. He turned the corner onto the main stretch and saw that the town had electricity. Doug was about to check his phone when a pickup truck with fire equipment went past and stopped at the diner. He looked down at his phone messages and texted dispatch to let them know where he was. The message sent, and the other messages were from his friends. Doug didn't look at the messages right yet because he was still on the side of the road and needed to get somewhere safe. He went to the diner to have breakfast and see if those were people from his fire crew. He walked in and everyone looked up at him. Doug scanned the crowd looking for familiar crew members and saw none, only some dirtbags. So he went and sat at a table spot in a way he could see them in the entrance. He realized he hasn't sat in a real chair for several days. The puppy followed him and went under the table and curled up under his feet where nobody could see. Doug had some cash in his pocket, more than enough to cover breakfast. A lady came to greet him and asked if he wanted coffee or orange juice. "Water's fine," Doug kindly responded. "Actually, 2 waters. And an extra bowl?" He knew better beverage-wise. Stupid coffee, milk, and orange juice cost a frickin' fortune at these places. All he needed was water and his pup or 2. Only water. She looked at him with a look of disdain that diner staff always have when you start out with only water and have stupid requests. "Well, are you ready to order then?" Doug responded, "Yes, miss. Can I please get 3 large blueberry pancakes with all the fixins, whipped cream, syrup, extra berries, you name it." He needed the calories and sugar in a bad way. She eyeballed him. "Okay," she seemed to pause. "I'll get that right up for you. It comes with hash browns and eggs, though." Doug responded thoughtfully. "Sure, eggs, medium rare, no hash browns. Substitute with extra bacon and sausage if you can." She thought about it for a second, shrugged, and walked off. Doug nodded to her subconsciously as she walked off. He thought to himself again to verify the point of ever ordering a beverage other than water. You were lucky if it ever even got brought out to you right away. It disgusted him how even with job shortages, good help was impossible to find. Every employer inundated with dead weight, wondering why they weren't making more money when their service royally sucked. His thoughts were interrupted when she stopped in mid-exit to the kitchen and responded without turning around. "Also, though, I have to tell you, no dogs allowed." She pointed to a sign Doug had walked right past, as he did with every other sign on doors. Doug completely disregarded her, then decided to respond in kind. "It's a service animal. Emotional support dog, actually. I know my rights. Thank you for your concern for my dining experience." She glared at him and was about to go to the back before she tried to be smart one last time. "Well, which is it? Is it a service dog or a therapy dog?" She responded condescendingly, as if she could trip him up. Scamming either system was a huge fine. Doug responded absentmindedly, as if it was a routine question. "Take your pick. They'll go through ADA. Now be a gem and let it go before I own this place with a discrimination lawsuit." She humped off into the back. Within a minute or so, there was a pitcher of water in a bowl. He poured some for his puppy and put it under the table. Happy lapping up of water commenced. Doug began sipping his water gingerly. He knew she wouldn't be in the mood to argue that he would need appropriate paperwork for the dog to be officially a service dog. Emotional support dogs could get paperwork if he wanted, but all he needed was a note from a decent enough doctor. Who cared if he had a dog in here anyway? It's not like anyone else was in here but those dirtbags eating in the corner and his canine companion. He'd take his puppy over scum humans any day. Challenger liked already being held in such high puppy regard, and Doug could hear his little tail quietly going under the table, the puppy leaning up against Doug's leg in its resting position to remind Doug that they were best buddies. Doug's concentration on his water was interrupted as his phone buzzed again. He looked down and dispatch said they were sending a crew and law enforcement as an escort to pick him up. He messaged them back with a thank you, then messaged his friends.